We've talked about Silent Hill F on this channel before, and it is a game that I am personally excited for and hoping is very good. Now that said, the game is not out yet, so it's not really something that you can pass a ton of judgment on either way, but this game is in 1960s Japan. I covered a lot of the specific details in a previous video. If you're interested, that I will leave in the description down below. But in general, there was a lot of news dropped about this the other day at Sony's State of Play in June of 2025, also with the fact that it is coming out later this year on PS5 on September 25th of 2025. Now you actually play as Hinako, who is a high schooler, and she's in Japan essentially exploring her hometown as it's engulfed in fog, and it shifts nightmarishly almost into this other dimension, and essentially you're solving puzzles and fighting monsters. I mean, it's very much Silent Hill based, just the only thing is this is not in Silent Hill itself. Now that said, I want to go over a couple of the details from this show, and also talk about a few things I've noticed people are doing, which line up with how Silent Hill 2's remake was treated, which ended up coming out and being mostly loved. Now, maybe a couple people out there who are watching this video didn't like that game. It's not a shot at you, but in general, I feel like people really went hard after that game. I remember being one of the few voices who was excited for it and just hopeful that it would be good, not knowing either way. And I remember getting a lot of insults and like very pathetic internet behavior from some people over that. And yet it turned out that most people loved it. I mean, it was a very big success sales-wise and also critically. So I'm noticing kind of the same pattern here with Silent Hill F I want to talk about for a few minutes today as well. I do have a question of the day for you though, which in general is, where would you want to see this series go next? Would you want to see a specific time period? Would you want to see a different part of the world? Is there a time period you want to see in the town of Silent Hill itself, or maybe Ashfield or one of the towns around it? I'm interested. Now here's the thing. I covered this in a previous video, but obviously this taking place in Japan is different. This is a very different direction for the series, and Hinako herself is a different sort of character in many ways. I mean, first, the fact of being Japanese. Secondly, being set in the 1960s is going to change who the person actually is. Being a younger, I believe, teenage girl, I don't really know the age of her yet. I have tried to figure that out, but like, she's a high school student, so she could be anywhere from, I believe, 15 to 18. Who knows? I guess we'll find out closer to when it comes out. But in general, she's kind of going to be, I think, close to the age of Heather from Silent Hill 3, but she's going to be in a much different setting. And also, this game is not relying on firearms. Talked about this a little bit previously as well, but this is going to be a more melee-focused Silent Hill. Now, here's the thing. Silent Hill in general has had a real issue with monster design when it comes to games that are after Silent Hill 4. I mean, I think that's a pretty fair thing to say. Now, there are some bangers in there for monster design. Like, you can find a few good monsters in any of them, whether it be Origins or Homecoming or whatever, but Silent Hill fell on an era in the Western development world after Team Silent was kind of phased out by Konami, where it feels like the best they could do was reuse Pyramid Head with different names and make like generic zombies and stuff. They just didn't really have a lot of spark and soul behind those monster designs. And especially even with games that I enjoyed, like I enjoy Silent Hill Downpour for the most part, with its main character and its explorable version of Silent Hill. The game played with atrocious performance issues, and the monster designs were bad, you know, just in general. Like, there was maybe one good monster in the game, one or two that were interesting. So in general, I feel like looking at this already, it is a huge step up that there's actually good monsters. That shouldn't be a big point of praise. I mean, Silent Hill 2 Remake had it, but like, they were just using monsters that already existed. So I mean, like, you know, they could have screwed that up, but they had a pretty good base. So to actually see this coming out with good monster designs that are very unique, I love it. I also think the setting is going to make it very unique in terms of the series, while also adding a Japanese flair to it. And I am glad as well that there is going to be more ways to explore the world of Silent Hill, because, I mean, if we're being honest, it does not make any sense that the only place in the world of Silent Hill that could be affected by a darkness is Silent Hill itself. It just doesn't make any sense. And we actually even see in Silent Hill 4 that this has started to spread out a little bit, this phenomenon. Now, I personally, I want it to make sense. I want it to work. I want, the story to be expanded on over time without it just giving away every secret. And I think moving to a different locale is a interesting and fun way to do that. Now, that said, I do have one big problem with the game, which is the fact that it is going the Konami route from recent games and having way too many different editions of the game. That frustrates me. Now, they did this same thing with Metal Gear. They're doing the same thing that they did with Silent Hill 2's remake. And essentially, it's to the point where they have to have a freaking Google spreadsheet or Excel spreadsheet basically on the PlayStation blog explaining what version of what comes with what. Now, I'm annoyed at that because this means that if you just buy the physical of the game, there's a lot of stuff you're not getting. If you pre-order it, there's extra stuff you get, but if you get it later, there's not. If you pre-order the deluxe edition, which is digital only, or whatever, then you can get other certain things. But in general, it seems like the way they really want you to get it, and the way that I believe I will get it, despite being someone who prefers physical games, is just getting the deluxe edition pre-order, because I love this series. I was very impressed by Silent Hill 2's remake, and it's going to come with a bunch of extra stuff, which most publishers would let you buy later, but I don't think Konami will. This is like, I've actually liked Konami in recent years, believe it or not, but one problem I've had with them is how they've treated this extra digital stuff. They had masks and things like that with Silent Hill 2's remake. Yeah, sorry, if you didn't buy the specific version of that ahead of time, you could never get those. They never released them later to buy or anything like that. Maybe eventually they will, but as of right now in the middle of 2025, nope. That was the only way to get it. So if you want a bunch of these extras for the games, including cosmetics and things like that, that's just the version you have to buy. I don't like that. I like giving customers choices, and I don't think that giving you choices means here's 3 choices, 2 of them are way worse. Oh, that's the only good one. I don't really like treating the customer that way. I wish that they would kind of move past this. I don't really think that, I don't know. I don't think it's a good look for Konami, who's trying to salvage their reputation from years past. But that said, I'm also not expecting it to change. So that's my big problem with the game right there. It's more of like a red tape around the piece of art because of what they're doing with the extras. Now, that said, I do think that some people are being way too hard on this game right now. They do say that it's a standalone spin-off, so you can jump in here, but it's also going to have Easter eggs and things like that for longtime fans, so it works for either group. If you want this to be your first Silent Hill, it could be. If you want it to be your 5th Silent Hill, it could be. So, I like that. But that said, one thing I'm noticing is a lot of criticism of this game already. I'm noticing the same thing that I saw with Silent Hill 2's remake. I'm noticing oh, this isn't going to be good. Oh, there's no firearms. That must mean it's bad. I don't know. I don't even know how that works because it's melee based. This one must be bad. I mean, like, let's look at the time period. Of course, there's not going to be firearms in this game. Anyways, I'm seeing a lot of comments like that and a lot of people like dogging on it already, or even jumping on like 1 or 2 monster designs we've already seen. We have seen very little of this game. Now, my point here, I'm not paid by Konami. I genuinely wish I was. Maybe I'd be able to afford basic necessities, but I'm not paid by Konami. So I get nothing out of defending this game. But my experience with Silent Hill 2's remake was that people were this same way. People were very, very ready to critique every tiny little aspect of the game before it came out, and then all of a sudden they all had their foot jammed down their throat, like their foot stuck in their mouth, really hard when it came out, and it was actually really loved by most people. Now, you might be someone who doesn't enjoy it, and that's totally fine. I'm not here to make people like it. But I do think that there were a lot of people who were proven wrong on Silent Hill 2's remake. And I think that it's okay to be skeptical. I think it's okay to kind of, you know, not be super into it until it comes out, just wait and see. I think unfortunately though, the biggest criticism I would have of that is, firstly, if you don't give something a chance at all, like even just watching or checking it out, you won't know if it's good. But secondly, on Konami's end, when they're doing all of that weird red tape around what edition of the game to buy and what you get with it, that's a bad look on top of that to people who are skeptical of you continuing your series. So that's something I would say you might want to avoid in the future. I would either phase out this model of trying to sell the game, or I would make it so that you can at least get that stuff later on for like $5. I think that would be a much better player-friendly way to deal with that. I will also say with this, that it is something where I want the game to be good, but I can see why people would be frustrated if they are not sure if they should pick this up and they should wait, and then they look at those editions, right? And they say, oh, well, if I don't buy the deluxe edition pre-order, you know, whatever, digitally, well, then I'm never going to get any of this stuff. So then they feel like they're kind of pushed into a position where they either have to buy the game right now without knowing enough about it, or they miss out on stuff later. I don't really think there should be FOMO in single player games. To me, that is the biggest criticism. It's one that if you have, I align with you completely. But in terms of like the actual piece of art itself, like what will the combat be like? Will the game story actually be good? What will the twist be? Because pretty much every Silent Hill has a big twist. We have to wait and see on those things. And I think people get a little ahead of themselves on crucifying the game before we know what those things are. I'm very much of a wait and see approach to it. Everything I've seen, read, and heard about this game other than those editions sounds great. And I personally am very hopeful that this is another step in the right direction for Konami's properties, which it does seem like are going in the right direction to me. And that's a very big step compared to where they were a handful of years ago. So I am interested to hear your thoughts down below. What do you think about all of this? Do you think this is a step in the right direction? Do you think that this will turn out good or not? What is the justification for that? And what do you think about these editions? Like, I just feel like that's a huge mistake on Konami's part to push that angle, because it's just going to give people more criticisms. For me, that's like my big criticism already, is just that. Everything else I've been fine with. That to me seems kind of anti-consumer. So let me know if you enjoyed the video, you want to leave a like, subscribe. That helps our channel out a lot. Leaving any comments helps us out a lot. Sharing it with a friend. We do cover other games as well on JayRPG, where I cover RPG games. That, along with my other channels like Degenerate Plays, where we play through games podcast style, is going to be down in the description below. And finally, of course, as well, we do have our own store, CosmoBunny.shop. We sell coasters, keychains, trays, and more made from recycled paper, from damaged comics, manga, magazines, and more. We take that paper, we save some of it, use it as a part of a transformative art piece for your home, and then we recycle the rest of that paper to keep it out of the landfill. And my wife Jill also makes handmade resin jewelry over there. She's doing a great job. It's hand painted, handmade, fantastic stuff. Some of you have been supporting that lately. We appreciate it so much. Discount code DJAY123 will get you 10% off your first order over there. Have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shui.